Most people think there are only two choices when dealing with a bad manager: quit or suffer in silence. But if you can't just walk out the door, whether for financial reasons, family needs, or health insurance, there is a third option. One that protects your mental health, keeps your paycheck, and restores your personal power, even when your boss is rude, unpredictable, and a micromanager. I've learned this lesson in my own life and have seen it firsthand with many of my clients. And today I share with you a story of a brilliant scientist that I'll call Sue. Sue gave me permission to share her story because she knows how isolating it feels to work for a bad manager. Sue worked for a boss whose moods were unpredictable. When she spoke up with ideas, she was immediately dismissed and publicly ridiculed in front of her colleagues. To make matters worse, accountability on the team was broken. Co-workers who underperformed got a free pass. And if anyone pointed out the favoritism, they became the next target. As Sue watched this pattern unfold over time and physically felt the toll it was taking on her, she realized something very critical. She told me, "Growing up, I had to walk on eggshells because anything could set my dad off in an angry outburst. I realized that same exact dynamic was playing out at work with my manager." Once she recognized the pattern, that single realization changed her entire strategy of how she dealt with her bad boss. When your work environment is toxic and it's affecting your well-being, you essentially have three choices. Now, while only you can decide what's best for you based on your circumstances and knowing yourself, use these three options as a guide in making a decision that's best for you. The first option is to leave. If the way your manager treats you is affecting your physical and mental health, and you have the means to leave, leaving is always a valid choice. It isn't about giving up. It's about choosing yourself. I also offer this caveat from the wise old saying attributed to Confucius, who said, "Wherever you go, there you are." Meaning, we take us with us wherever we go. While we may think that we're leaving a bad situation, if we don't look in the mirror and gain self-awareness around our own patterns, unconsciously, we might create the same dynamics in the next job. And this isn't about taking the blame or tolerating mistreatment. It's about reflecting on the opportunities for your own personal growth this work situation is giving you. We'll talk more about this in the third option. The second option of what you can do when you have a bad boss is just stay and endure. And this is where most people get trapped. They just put their head down and try to survive. They stay low, try to stay under the radar of the boss without using their personal agency to protect their own well-being. And as you can imagine, this takes a massive toll, both physically and emotionally over time. The third option when dealing with a bad boss is to stay and grow. And this is the path that Sue chose. It's also the hardest choice, and it's the most empowering. The stay and grow strategy invites you to grow through adversity while actively protecting your sanity. It's choosing to grow in ways that are personal to you and that are dependent on you knowing yourself and taking that look in the mirror and looking at what are my personal opportunities to grow. Here are a few examples. Your opportunity to grow might mean speaking up without taking verbal attacks personally. It might be about setting boundaries and allowing natural consequences if you tend to be the one who picks up the pieces for others. Your opportunity for growth might be getting outside help to sort through what is the part that you play for you to address and what is someone else's issue that you are not responsible for. Only you can know what your opportunity for growth is, of what this toxic work environment is presenting to you before you step out the door. Let's go back to Sue's story. As she connected the dots about this toxic work environment that she was working in, she knew that she couldn't leave for financial and insurance reasons. But she refused to just stay and endure the disrespect. Instead, she made the conscious choice to stay and grow by first reflecting on how this situation was happening for her instead of to her. She told me, "I realized my dad's unpredictable outburst prepared me for this work environment. The difference now is I'm an adult, and I know the only thing I can control is my behavior. Until I was financially ready to leave, I stopped focusing on my manager's need for change and keeping a mental score of his wrongs. Instead, I focused on changing my response to him. Every day, I made a choice to show up based on my internal values, to work with excellence, to be a reliable team member, to stay calm, even in the face of the way I was being treated with disrespectful behavior, condescending comments, and to set strict boundaries about how I was spoken to. I also prioritized my sleep, exercise, and taking care of my mental health outside of work." What's so inspiring about Sue's story is that no matter how dismissive or demeaning her manager was to her, she learned he could not take away her core values unless she handed them over. A couple years later, on her final day at that company, Sue walked out with no regrets, with her self-respect intact, her career stronger than ever, and clear lessons she took straight into her next role. As the philosopher Nietzsche famously wrote, "There's no single way, there's only your way." If you're navigating a complex dynamic with a difficult leader right now, take a moment and reflect on where you stand. Are you strategically planning your exit? Are you simply enduring and taking on unnecessary strain? Or are you ready to use this season to sharpen how you show up at work, build emotional boundaries, and grow through it before making your next move? Navigating these workplace dynamics isn't easy, and you don't have to figure it out on your own. If you want a confidential thought partner to help you weigh these options, protect your energy, and map out your next step, I'd welcome a conversation. Click the link below to schedule a private strategy call. And if this perspective brought you value, feel free to pass it along to a colleague who also might need this message. Thanks for watching.